We validated that our code does work on both a simulator and a device. On a simulator, it does not show the camera button, right? There we go. I think that's nice here. So here, my simulator is on my right. It does not show the camera button. On my left, I have my device. It shows the camera button, right? So we verified that. Let's keep going here. Cancel here, that cancels. Great, great, great. Okay, so check if camera is available. If camera is not available, and you attempt to show the camera, the app will crash. Okay, cool. So we took care of that there. That doesn't happen because we won't have a camera button, period. Great. Next up, we have our function here. We call it showImageController. ShowImageController will get called with some Boolean value if the camera was selected or not. Let's go create an instance of our image controller. Very similar to our table view, we need to create some instance of the object that we want to use here. In that case, we want to create an instance of our image controller. So here we'll create a private var image picker controller is a UI image picker controller, right? And UI image controller, as its name, as its prefix says, it's a UI, so it's a UI kit. So there's no need to import anything else but UI kit here, right? So UI image picker controller is very similar to UI alert controller. It's some controller that you could present to the user. In our case here, the UI image picker controller will be the UI, the camera UI, or the library UI. All that is embedded in a navigation controller, right? So right, whether it be the camera or whether it be the photo library, they both are embedded in a navigation controller. All right, so here we have our image picker controller. It's a global variable here in our class. Now we have access to it. Let's go down to our show image controller to set the source type. Here we'll have the source type be defaulted. Source type default will be photo library. And when we say source type, what is the user selecting from? What is the source of the image? Is the source of the image the photo library, or is the source of the image the camera? So here we have image controller, image picker controller dot source type equal to photo library, right? And where do we want to call this? We want to call this where the user selected the camera, for example. Not the camera, sorry, the photo. So right where we have our photo library action, I kept all the code on screen so we're not getting distracted here. So right on line 31, the user selected a photo, for example, or the user clicked on the photo action. Remember we said we have a completion handler we could use. So here we'll use trailing closure syntax. We'll use trailing closure syntax here. Where am I? Is camera selected? We haven't used it yet. The source will be default photo. If they use the camera, we'll switch it to camera. So we'll have some logic like this, a mini here. We'll say if is camera selected, for example. We'll just change the source type. Okay? So Emily's question was, we said, how are we using the is camera selected? That's how we use the is camera selected. By default, it's source type library. If it's not the camera, it just defaults to the photo library. Okay? Awesome. So now let's go to our completion handler. take that out here, completion. So on line 31, right where you have your photo library action, at the end of your parens, put a curly bracket, open curly bracket, close curly bracket. Those are trailing closure syntax, correct? Yes, trailing closure syntax, we know what that is. Right, so using trailing closure syntax, we'll write in our completion. Our completion has one argument. This is why we have that error here. We have one argument, so we'll call that argument alert action. What do we want to do when the user clicks on the photo library action? We will use we'll use a capture list here to break any return cycles, because we're about to say self.showImageController, and we're passing false. So when the user clicks on the photo action, the photo library action, we call our showImageController. We pass in an argument of false because the camera was not selected. And we call our showImageController. On line 49, it would change it to source type of library. It's not the camera, so it skips this. And lastly, we'll simply say present. What are we presenting? Image picker, very good. So here we'll present image picker. We'll present the image picker controller. Very good. Yes? Photo library action is not on screen. Right here. We got everything on screen. Perfect. Yes? Is camera selected? This guy? Oh, yeah. Remember, if you say if some variable, that implies if true. Everybody? Right? Yeah. Where's your error coming from? What line? Okay. Antonio, double check on Adan's machine there. There's a red line somewhere. Yes?
Sir, why is the connection on the self weak for this?
Because we have a strong reference to the image picker controller. And here we are capturing self in that closure. The alert controller, sorry, the action. That action right here, where are we? The alert action, we have a strong reference to it here. We have a strong reference to it, and we capture in self inside the closure. So they both have a pointer, a strong pointer to each other, right? Yes?
I don't understand what we're doing for a set camera if we're talking about the, that's a separate, never mind.
That's okay. Okay, let's test this out. We actually have enough code to see if our simulator or device could show the photo library. Let's see what's going on. I actually run it on my device, sorry. So here I'm running the app. If I click on my add action button and I click on photo library, the photo library comes up, right? And now I have access to the library. I could go and select stuff here, but nothing happens. I select an image, but the image doesn't populate, right? So we have more code to write. Do we all have access to the library? Were we all able to see the library? Same thing, I could go to my simulator. If I run the app on my simulator here, which will help us, I need to show you guys something as well here with the simulator, how to get more photos in the simulator if you don't have a device. So my app runs, I'm on the simulator, I click on my add button, I click on photo library, that's the only thing available to me, and I have access to the photo library on the simulator, right? The next question will be, how did you get all the photos in your library here? Everybody? If you're running the app on your simulator, one way to get photos in the simulator is to go to the home screen of the simulator, navigate over to Safari. Do we all see Safari? On the simulator, do we see Safari? Mel, you have Safari? You saw Safari, right? Simulator?
I'll use the simulator. I was using
Yeah, even if you have the device, please know how to add more photos to your library on the simulator. Cool? So how do we do that? We go to the home screen on our simulator. Yes? Not yet? Yes? We open up Safari. We open up Safari and we could search. I could search here. Search, not Twitter. I put some image in here. We all like cats, right? I put in cat here. So I put in cat into the browser and I select images in Google and search for my favorite cat image. Well, the connection is not that great, but we'll get there. Okay, so here's a cat here. I click on the cat, right? So you have some sort of image. Everybody? Yes? I want to save that image. I long press on the image. With the mouse, I long press on the image, and I see Add to Photos. Do we see that? In the context menu, do we see Add to Photos? I click Add to Photos, and at that point, I have a photo of a cat in my library here. Yes? Cool? Cassandra? So go to Safari, select some photo, or search for some photo. When you get to the photo, you long press on the photo. So if you have a photo like this, you long press on the image, and the context menu will come up. Awesome. All right. I did promise a lot of moving parts here and a lot of new things we'll see. So we've seen that so far. Cool. All right. So we're able to access the photo library, but there's a problem. When I select a photo, it does not add that photo to my collection view. Okay? So now our next problem to solve is how do I get that selected photo into my collection view cell? That is the next challenge we face. How do I get that selected photo? The user did select it. How do I get that image into my collection cell? Let's go ahead and solve that. To solve that, we need to do some more things here. The image picker controller we have, as we introduced earlier, most of UI views in or controllers, whatever we have there, in iOS has a delegate on it, right? The user selected something. User did select image, right? So on our UIImagePickerController, there's a UIImagePickerController delegate. There's a delegate on it, which we could set ourselves as the delegate here, saying, I want to know when the user selected an image, right? When that user selects the image, I want to get notified because I want that image, right? I want that image so I could take that image and put it into my cell, right? So this is a delegate there that we'll be using. So very similar to our table view and our collection view cells right here. We'll say image, let's set delegate, set image Okay, so here we have our image picker controller instance. And keep in mind that you need to be an instance of something in order to register as that delegate. So here we have an instance of the image picker controller. So we say image picker controller, hey, your delegate object, I want to set it. And who's listening? I am listening. I, the view controller, is listening. Keep in mind, you could have a next class somewhere else being the delegate, right? Keep in mind, it's not always the view controller. If you want to break up your code, you could have a delegate object. Call the thing image picker delegate, right? It could be a class away from my view controller that is acting as the delegate for it. And I could simply say image picker delegate, something like that, right? Keep in mind, the delegate here could be anything that conforms to the UI image picker delegate. Everybody with me? Okay? But here we want it to be ourself, that same view controller, so we say self. Okay? So the minute we do that, we'll get compiler errors because now the compiler says, okay, you set yourself as the delegate. I do not see any place that you're saying I'm conforming to UIImagePicker delegate. So we need to do that, right? So the UIImagePickerController delegate, you need to conform to two things. Remember I said the camera is embedded in a navigation controller or the photo library. So we need to conform to two protocols here. We need to conform to UIImagePickerController delegate, and we need to conform to UI navigation controller delegate. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. We'll go to the bottom right here somewhere and create an extension. Create the extension right above where it says extension UI image here. Create an extension on our images view controller. It conforms to UI image picker controller. Just above more here. So UI image picker delegate and UI navigation controller delegate. Those are the two things we're conforming to. What's that? Because we need to know when the user click on the cancel button. Remember I said the view controller, the image controller, the photo controller, or the camera controller is embedded in a UI navigation controller, right? So I get updates when the user click on, for example, the cancel button. The cancel button is on the navigation controller, okay? No, that just the image picker works with both of them. I mean, ideally, Apple should really just like combine those because it just makes sense. Okay, let's take a look at what methods we need to implement. So I'll copy the UI image picker delegate and I'll go over to my browser and see what this all means. So the UI image picker controller delegate is responsible for alerting us or telling us about two actions. There's only two functions here we're interested in. Let's blow that up. There's only two functions we're interested in. One tells the delegate that the user picked an image or a movie. The function is called ImagePickerController did finish picking media, right? When the user clicks on that image, I get notified and I get the image object from that user. The next function is, did the user cancel? If the user canceled, I want to dismiss the view controller. Because if the user cancels right now, there's no way to dismiss the controller. But when the user clicks on cancel, I want to do anything I need to do with my UI, right? So in that case, we'll just simply cancel the picker view. So let's see what that looks like. If I go back here and I click on photo library, I click on cancel, cancel works here, but now I want to dismiss the view controller. So let's go to, where are we here? We said we want to implement two things. Image picker controller did cancel, and what's the other one we said? Image picker, thank you. This is the most important one really, the second one. The second one really tells us what is that image. That image comes in the shape of a dictionary here. The image object comes in the shape of a dictionary. We have to query the dictionary to get the value of it. There's a bit of work there we need to do, but that's how we get the image. Because right now, we have two parameters. We have a picker, which is the actual UI image picker controller, and we have a did finish dictionary object. So we need to use that dictionary object. This is where the image is. Where is the image? The image is inside that dictionary here. Key any, and any we need to cast it to some sort of image object we need. And keep in mind, when we talk about custom delegation, let's observe how Apple writes their own custom delegations, right? Apple always gives you back the object that you're setting the delegate on. For example, here, I have a picker. Why do I do that? If I have, for example, a table view, you always have access to the table view as the first argument. Why do they do that? You could have multiple table views, right? So if you do not have the table view object, how do you know which table view you're referring to? So when you're writing your own custom delegation, best practices or start thinking of, hey, maybe I also want to pass the same object back, right? Because it could be a use case where the users has multiple of those objects and they need to find out which one is referring to, right? If I have two UI picker views and I want to know which one is selected, if I do not have that picker view object, there's no way for me to really know that. I have to do extra code to do it. So that's like one of those things like convention. Okay, so what do we want to do here? Here in this function, we need to access the UIImagePickerController.info info key.original image key to get the UI image that was selected. Okay, so as I said, we have a dictionary here. We need to use that dictionary, access the key. The key will be UIImagePickerController.info key.original image. So that's the key that gives us the object the user selected. Yes, sir. No, that's different. The UID we created has nothing to do with this particular object. Those are two different things. The image object is our own custom type, right? But this here is coming from the image that was selected. Thank you for that clarification there, right? So the UID has nothing to do with this particular. Yeah.
Did you already talk about the UID?
Yes, we just spoke about it as if you want a unique ID, if you want a unique string, this is the place to go, right? That's all it gets you, a unique string that you could use on your object. Because you don't want to do arc.random, something like that, right? You have an API that gives you a unique string, that's what we use. Because as I said, like any object you create, if you want to store that object, really make sure it has an ID. Some way to make it unique, right? Exactly. Next question? Yes, sir.
What are the possible types for info key?
There's other keys there. There's like a cropped image key. If you crop the thing, that's what you want back, right? There's different keys there. Let's see if the documentation really spells it out for us. Take that over here and drop that in here. Let's see. Come on, internet. All right. Original image, that's not what we want. Cropped. So there we go. So there's all the keys there. There's cropped rect, right? There's edited image, live photo. Like, which one are you after, right? Because there's many things the user could do in that image. Very good question. So David's question was what other keys we have available to us. There's many other keys available to us here. But the one key we after is original image. Where is it? Original image right here. The original image, specify the uncropped, give me the raw image that the user selected. Very good. Okay, so let's go do that. Since we're dealing with a dictionary, the minute we start dealing with a dictionary, what is the value type? What is the value that I'm getting back from that dictionary? Any, right? But it's an optional, correct? It's an optional at the end of the day. Very similar to user defaults. It could exist. Maybe it's nil, right? So either we're doing it using nil coalescing, we're using some sort of optional binding, right? In our case here, we'll use a guard statement and say image, because we know we want back an image. That's what we want, some sort of image. How do we get the image? We'll be using the UIImagePickerController key here on info. Info is the dictionary. Info is that dictionary. On that dictionary, we'll use the key. Again, a key is like a string here, is a key. But the key will use the constant. Thank God for the constant here. Let's go. UIImageController.info info key dot. We don't want the cropped, we don't want the edited, we don't want the live photo. What do we want? The original. So let's go after that. And original again, uncropped image. Okay, what else we need to do here? I want to get back a UI image. What do I need to do in order to get back a UI image? Downcast to UI image, right? Thank you, Cassandra, for that, right? So here, I want to downcast to the object I am expecting, right? So here, I will downcast to a UI image. Very good.
So wait, what is image originally before it's UI?
It's just any, like here,
Oh, okay.
right? Because that dictionary just has whatever objects in there. It's any.
Okay.
Cool? Very good. So here, I'm not even gonna, we're not gonna crash the app. I see some people like putting fatal errors everywhere. There's returns there. Keep in mind, you want to crash the app on things where it's developer related, right? If I created some custom cell and I try to downcast that custom cell, it's okay to crash the app there. But if the user tries to select an image, something goes wrong, you don't want to crash the app there. Everybody with me? Right? It's one of the things, like, as you get more experience under your belt, you know the use cases for fatal error. But this is not a use case for fatal error. I don't want to crash the app here. But for now, we'll just put a print statement here, say image selection not found. Something to visually tell us what's going on. Great. So here I have an image. Perfect. At this point, I have an image. Let's put a breakpoint right here before we do anything else and see what that image looks like. For here, just put dismiss view controller true. And let's run the app. Make sure you, in your view did load, make sure you set image controller delegate equals self. And let's test this to see what's going on. Let me bring my simulator back to Xcode here. Okay, so let's run the application. And click on your add button, click on your photo library. Let's get to our cat. Great. So if everything went well, you should have a breakpoint getting activated. Yes? And if we go down to our console here, in the variables area, do we all see the variables area here on the right? Shows you the variables names, yes? Do we see some object says image? Right, in green here, local variable, L. Click on it, and click on the eyeball. Do we see the eyeball? Do we see the eyeball at the bottom of my selection? Click on the eyeball. At this point, you should see a cat, or whatever you selected, right? Maybe a dog. Confirmation, anybody does not see the image. You do not see the image. Did you click on the image? This is not, the key is not correct. Guys, make sure, let's see here, make sure you say info. Info is a dictionary. Make sure you say info, not just simply key. Cool? Yeah. That's in my did cancel, yeah. Okay, cool. So we confirmed that we do have an image in the breakpoints, correct? Yes? Okay. So, all right, so let us continue here. We get in good places here. So here I have my image. Now, when I have that image, I'll create some sort of variable that says selected image, for example. And anytime I set the selected image, I want to go ahead and do some logic to add that image into my cell. We have a bit of code to do there, but let's do that. So first, let us zoom back here. Let's go up very top. Let's create a variable called selected image. Var, private var selected selected image is of type UIImage. Come on. Okay. I'm keeping track of the selected image variable because every time I change that variable, I want to reload my table view. Oh, sorry, my collection view here. Did enough table views, right? So anytime I change my selected image, I want to reload my collection view. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So when this guy gets selected here, we'll have a did set on this to reload collection view. Gets called when new image is selected. Actually, that's not even what I want to do. I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. That will just reload the whole collection view. I don't want to reload the whole collection view each time. I want to insert. Okay?
Alex.
Yeah.
Did set, is that kind of like a property observer?
It is a property observer. Did set is a property observer. So I don't want to reload the table view each time a new image is selected. What I want to do is insert a new item. So here we'll actually write a function called append to collection or something like that, where I'll call my function, and my function will do the logic for inserting inside of my collection view. Amini, what's your question? Okay, so here let's write a function. It's not going to be called this. It gets called when the image is selected. Let's write a function right here for now. It's a private function. I'll call it append new photo. To collection. And this guy is going to get called here. So append new photo to collection. There's no dispatch main here because we haven't done any asynchronous call. Everybody with me? Everybody with me? Right? The why, we have to know why. And then why we do dispatch main? Because we're coming from a network call. Here we're not doing any network request. Okay, so here we call append new photo collection. Great, great, great. Let's keep going. We know our selected photo or image is an optional. So we'll use guard here, guard let image equal to selected image. Here, image is new. And we do have an image here. Great. So we have an image. We need to create an image object. We need to create an image object to add to our image objects array. So here we need to create an image object. Create an image object, then what do we want to do next? We want to append it or insert it. Insert new image object into image objects. And then, last step, we want to insert new cell into collection view. This is better UI. If I say reload data on my collection view, I do not get that nice animation that iOS gives us, right? If I say insert index in my collection view, I get a smooth animation on my collection view. Everybody? Right? Here is not what you want to do reload. If you're coming from an API, you say reload, it reloads everything. That's fine, because I'm not inserting one element. Anytime you want to insert one element, you ideally want to do by index path. Everybody? Very similar to what we did on our scheduler app, right? I want to insert one item. Make it smooth. Don't reload the whole collection. Everybody with me? Any questions about that? Any questions about that? If I reload, the entire thing just reloads. I don't get any animation, smooth animation happening. But if I say insert some item at some index, I get a smooth animation of that item being inserted into my collection view or my table view. Yes, sir?
Would it be more performance intensive if we were to reload the...
Performance, actually it's more expensive to reload the whole table view. I always want to go to the analogy, if you have 1,000,000 records, you reload all that, right? Cool? But yes, in the API case, it makes sense to reload because you have a whole bunch of data. You just reload the table view or the collection view. But here, we insert in one item. We just insert it using the index path. Cool? Yes? Let's go back to that later. That's a different problem. With your lab, that's a different problem. Yeah, exactly. Cool? Okay, so let's keep going. Create, you see how I'm commenting out what I want to do? Let's get in the habit of doing that. Whatever you're trying to achieve, comment it out, right? Write some comments. I want to do step 1, then I want to do step 2, then I want to do step 3, right? First, if I need to do anything, I need to create an image object. I need to create that object. And I'm creating that object using the image. Create an image object using the image selected. Okay, let's see what that looks like. So create an image object. I'll call it image object. And image object is of type image object. Takes in data. Oh, we need data. Haha. And we need a date. Okay. We need data. Why do we need data? Because we said the UI image is not codable. We need to convert the UI image to a data object. This project is getting ready. At any point, I want to save, I want to persist, right? If I start out with just having a UI image, I cannot persist my UI image, right? So here, let's get data. We need to get data. Let's do this. To get data, go back to line 36. Put a comma after your selected image and say let image data equal to UI image, or is it data? What do I want? Data. Image on the image object. On the image instance, I have a JPEG instance here. JPEG is a format. We know JPEG, right? We search for images. There's JPEG or there's PNG. We'll use JPEG here because you could change the compression quality of it, right? I could change the compression quality. I could make it 0.5 so it takes less space on the user's device. Always think about the user. Don't think of the higher quality image. Think of the user's device. The bigger the image, the more space it takes. Yes? Okay? Before you know it, your iPhone is running out of space. You're like, why? Oh, that app. Delete, right? So always keep the user in mind there. So here we're going to use JPEG data. We're taking an image and we're converting it to data with this function called JPEG data. JPEG data takes in some float value from 0 to 1, the compression quality. Here I'll just say 1.0 because we'll also change the size later. So the compression quality, we set it at 1. And we use optional chaining here to chain the image and to chain the data. So we need to get both of those pieces of data in order for us to continue. Right? So here we're using optional chaining by using commas. Everybody, any questions about that? Okay, so now we have our image data. We could pass in our image data here. Build, make sure we have no errors. Any questions about line 43 or line 37? Line 37 says, image instance, I want to change you to data. So let's write that in actually. So convert, let's take this here. Convert UI image to data. That's it. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, perfect. So now we have our image object. That's happy. Let's go ahead and insert.
This is basically function encoding the data, but it's
Something like that, yeah. Just converting one type to the next. Yeah, very, very good. So insert new object into image objects. Okay, so what do we want to do here? I think we want to take whatever new thing, put it at the top. Okay, so let's do that. So we'll say on image objects, image objects insert the new element, which is the image object at 0. So at 0, we'll insert it at the top of that array. Image object, sorry, lowercase here. It will insert it at index 0. Next, we will say insert new cell into collection view. Okay? What do we need here? So before we do any inserting, so if I say collection view dot insert items, if I want to insert items, I need to pass in an array of indices. Everybody? Very similar to our table view. So first, I need to get some sort of index path. So let's create an index path. Let's create an index path. Create an index path for insertion into collection view. Okay, so here, let's create an index path. So we say let index path equal to index path some row. Where do we want to insert it? We want to insert it at the top, we said, right? So 0, 0. 0, 0 at the top of the collection view. And lastly, let's do the insertion. So collection view dot insert items, an array. Here we pass one index path. Because you could pass many indices, so it takes an array, which makes sense. I have 3 objects I want to insert at once. You pass it an array of indices. So this is our append new photo to collection function. Takes in, or not, doesn't take in anything. We have our global selected image. We know what image was selected. One image gets selected at a time. Anytime that image gets selected, don't forget on your did set here, please, please, please. On your did set, right, for the selected image, we call in our function. So we call the function append new photo. It has the selected image. If it's optional, then nothing happens there. But it shouldn't be optional. But here, if we have the object, it's an image. It's an image here. We optionally unwrap it, we get an image. We take that image, we convert the image to data using Jpeg Data. There's also a PNG data, if you really want to take more space from the user there. So we have image.jpeg data. Take the image, convert it to data. So we have data. Awesome. So we go to step 44. We create an image object. Where is the image object coming from? It's our struct. We have the struct in our, we have the struct here. It's a model. This is our struct. We created it, same as we have structs. Our struct has image data. It has a date object. What date was this image added? If we want to sort by date, we have that, right? Dates are great. Put dates everywhere you can, right? Great, so let's go back here. And the ID, let me stop here. So the ID gets created automatically. We're not creating the ID ourselves. The minute the object is created, the ID has a default of whatever random string we have there. Perfect. So now we have our image object. On line 47, we say we want to insert at the top. Yes, sir? Say it again. No, I didn't. No, I haven't added anything. It's as we got it this morning. I haven't changed anything there. So we say image objects, our array for our collection view, insert it at the top. Line 53. Of just one item. You could give it an array of many items. You could give it an array of one item. Very similar to our table view insertion, right? It could take many items at once, which is great. Or you could just take one item. Here we just have one item, that's what we inserted. Yes, sir. I could have multiple items here. when would you want to have multiple items? What if the user selects multiple? What if you have some UI on your collection view? They could select multiple cells and add all at once to some other collection view. How would you make that work? Where am I? Insert items. Am I lost there? Get my index path. I insert my item. Oh, I don't think we need this, right? That's why you're going there. Insert items. This inserts in my objects. Let's see here. That just inserts an empty array right now. 1 second. What's your question, sir?
I'll ask you.
Okay, that's fine. Index path, take the new collection, the new thing we add it at the top here. Yeah, that's fine. So the new index, the new thing we inserted, the new thing that gets inserted, uses that index path here to insert the new item. Because we have a new item in the array, in our collection view, on our data source, we have a new item in our objects here. Instead of saying reload data, we say insert the new item, the new thing we just had, insert it at the top. That's what we're doing here. Let's run it first and come back to your question if you have any more questions about it. Okay, Amini? Okay. You still have a question?
Yeah, I remember. So we're not adding, because we technically have 50 in our...
We have, yeah, say we have 50. Actually, we gotta fix that, right? Say we have 0.
Okay, but in this case, it being 50, we're not making it 51, we're just adding this to the first one.
Say we have 50, right?
Okay, yeah.
We have 50. This is gonna be 51, correct?
Okay.
Right? And then the new object we're gonna add, we say take that new object, make a new index for that object, and then insert that new object at the top of the collection view.
Okay.
All right, let's run it and verify everything is working, then we'll come back and ask more questions, answer more questions. Yes, in the back?
Technically, after we already kind of like added photos from the photo library, it is possible to change it from archive 50 to just...
We're doing that right now. Let's do that right now. On line 93, well, in my number of items in section, change return 50, remove that hard-coded number, to images, objects that count. We have some more work to do. So change that hard-coded number to images, objects that count, and for our cell, oh, we don't have a cell for our cell, let us get our image object at the index, and we will write some configure cell here. We write some configure cell to say cell.configure cell, configure cell, and we'll pass in configure cell image object, and we'll pass in our image object here. That doesn't exist yet, but we need to create it, okay? So what we're updating right now, update your return 50 to images objects or image objects that count. And on your cell for row, update those 3 lines here, get the image object at the current index. And don't worry to write this right now because I might break for you guys, but for me, this is fine. We need to go ahead and write some configure cell function, okay? Let's go ahead and write the configure cell function in our image cell. So click on your image cell, and let's add in a configure cell, takes in an image object of type image object, and here we need to get an image from our UI image data image object dot image data. And now we set our image view dot image equal to image. Unresolved image, let image. There's no network in here. It's a simple image. We just convert in. So now we're converting data back to, so converting data to UI image. And now you could go back to the cell for row and update or call your configure cell and pass it the image object. I'll leave the screen up here for people still typing. But for other people that's done typing, go back to your cell for row. Right after your let image object, that other line there, put in cell.configure cell and pass it the image object. Pass it the image object. If you run the app, it should work right now, unless there's other errors we haven't seen. But you should be able to select an image from the photo library and show it populating. While people are still typing, let me see confirmation on that, if anybody got it to work. Yes?
Did we finish the
Image picker controller.
Did finish picking media with.
Did finish, yeah, did we? Oh, call, what do we need there? We need one line of code. What do we need there? In the image picker did finish picking media. We need one line of code there, right after the guard statement, in order to get that code to work.
I'm not understanding. Can you repeat your question?
We're gonna come there. People are still typing, but for people that's done already, they're going to the app and they're trying to test it. It doesn't work because we have one line of code to write. Yes, Cassandra? Selected image equal to image, guys. If we don't set the selected image, it's always nil, right? So in your did finish selecting media, you want to put selected image equal to image, right? If you don't set that selected image, it will always be nil. Thank you, Cassandra. How are we doing? Are we done with the cell? Can we go? Okay, so let's go to our view controller. And the question Matt was bringing up here and Cassandra answered, here we have a warning because we're not using it. The compiler tells you exactly what's going on. And if you're using best practices and everything, one of the things is we don't submit code with warnings. Here it tells us a warning, we're not using image. So it tells us something. Hey, you're not using this image. So Cassandra said we need to say selected image here equal to image. If I don't set that, my selected image will always be nil. So now when my selected image got set, what gets called? Did set gets called. Let's go to did set here. Did set gets called right here. And then my append new photo gets called. And then that happens, it gets the image, and all the code here should work unless we have some other issue. So let's test it out. So run the app. Again, make sure you have selected this last line here in your did select media. Make sure you have this last line here to set the selected image property. I click on my photo library. I go to Swift here. Click on Swift, nothing happens. Aha, what's the next thing that's happening here? Something very similar to that. Like a resign first responder, but what do we need to do? What are we doing in that other function? Dismiss, right? I need to dismiss. A lot of moving parts. So here I need to explicitly say dismiss the thing. Dismiss. And now if we run it again, applications have many moving parts, right? You think you finish one piece, then there's the next piece and the next piece, until when you think you finish, then you ship. Okay, so here I click on it, I click on Swift, and look at that. Like that, we have Swift populated. If I go select the next image, let's see what happens here. I select on Swift UI. Look at that. We get that nice little animation that we added. We get that animation because we added the index path row, insert index path. This is why we got that animation. If we said reload table view, we're not gonna get that animation. It will just reload the whole thing. It will reload the entire collection view like one collection view. I'm not gonna get that smooth animation where it inserts the thing. Like if I add a next item again, let's go add a new item. Let's add, who knows what this is? Right? So this is, right? This is where we all congregate. Well, not all, but. Anyway, this is the campus, right? So we're able to insert, and we're able to insert at the top of our collection view. Okay? Any questions about that? Anybody not get the code to work? Configure cell. Are you calling it? Well, one second, let's see. This guy? Just make sure you have the code as is here. So we have our UI image class, and we instantiated it with an image object. Dot image data, right? Any questions? I think we'll take a short break and come back. Yes, sir. Fatal error, I'll help during the break. Any other questions? Yes. Collection view. Where you guys getting the fatal error? What does it say? What's the fatal error say? Downcasting? Guys, 1 second. Sorry, the break is not started yet. Go ahead. Which function is it? This one here? What line number? Here you're getting an error. Oh, make sure you change. Are you returning 50? Change that. Yeah. 1 second. Adan? Yeah, so change 50. If you have 50, it's going to crash because you don't have 50 objects. Okay? Yes, Tiffany?
What was the name of the website for the app icon?
Let me select that after. Cool? Yes, sir. Append. Okay. All right, I'll stop here and then we'll come back in 5 minutes.